Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to today's Friday Reflections on this Friday, the 4th of March, 2022. Jummah Mubarak, and I wish you all the very best wherever you are. We are, of course, living in very testing times, and I'm sure all of us are concerned about the situation in Ukraine and in other hotspots around the world where there are troubles and conflicts and issues, and even in some places still the fallout from the COVID pandemic that is very bad in some places, where it's actually the combination of it and the things that have been implemented have impacted society quite profoundly. So, I mean, we've got all these things that are going on at the moment. And so it is a testing time in order to be living. But let's be positive. And today I want to read from Breaths Beyond the Curtain, which is one of the last collections of Mawlana Shaykh Nazim's talks or sohbets or supas, depending on your language and what you prefer to use. This is copyright in 2010, and it is, I believe, still available online from Amazon and other booksellers. And today I would like to read Sohbet on page 39 that I was reading while I was on the way to Barmouth last weekend. Right, literally, I arrived last Friday and stayed a couple of nights in Barmouth. And I thought this was actually very apt considering the things that we are going through at the moment. So I'm going to read and comment upon it as I go through. This is on page 39 of the book, and it's titled The Critical Need for Global Change. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. I seek refuge from the devil, and I begin in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most kind. La hawla wala quwwata illa billahi al-azim. O our Lord, Ya Rabbana, gather our hearts to hear from your divine station, to be gathered and listen and obey, understand. When you collect water, much more power comes for turning the mill. If that water is spread over a wide space, it is weak. It can't turn. Therefore, the mill always collects the water when coming on the stones to turn them, not letting it flow in a wide space. No, collecting, 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 then it gives power. So here, Mawlana is talking about an old-fashioned watermill. There is actually one in the town where I come from, in Redditch, it's actually called Forge Mill Museum, but it was originally the Forge Mill. And this was a water-powered mill that made needles. Now, in the past, there's all sorts of water-powered mills that would, some would grind corn, others would turn machinery, not necessarily always for needles, sometimes for that purpose, but all sorts of machinery could be powered by a water mill. But in order to do this, that water has to be collected. If the water is just allowed in a general sort of natural way, it will never be able to power a mill. So what mills usually have is they have a reservoir or a mill pond, and that collects the water. Then that water drops down on the water wheel. And as the water drops down on the water wheel, it carries power with it. And that turns the water wheel, which turns everything else in the mill. And this technology is still used by us today in hydroelectric dams, but on a much vaster scale. In a hydroelectric dam, a river is blocked by a concrete dam. And so what builds up, instead of the river flowing, is you build up the water behind the dam. It collects lots and lots of water into a big lake. And then that water comes rushing down through small channels inside the dam. And those small channels, they actually take that water towards the turbines. And those turbines spin around really fast because of it. And then they drive dynamos, which generate electricity. So this technology from water mills, we still use it today, albeit in a much more modern form. And this is what Mawlana is talking about. If the water is like the raindrops, you don't even feel them. They just tickle you. But if you're standing underneath a waterfall and all that water is coming rushing down, lots of water, all focused in one place, that water has power. It might even hurt you. So, depending on the size of the waterfall. So this is what Mawlana is discussing. Therefore, we are asking from Allah Almighty to do everything for His sake, for His glory, for His divine honor. Everything that you are going to do, you must do it for His divine glory and divine pleasure. That is important. So even when we're doing our everyday actions, hopefully they're not haram, and if they're good actions, just Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Do it for the pleasure of Allah. And all of those actions become blessed. When you want to do something for Him, Almighty, you must gather your every power. Therefore, we are saying Allahu Akbar, which means that God is most great. And that means we are putting away everything that occupies us and making ready all our spirituality and also our physical being to be 100% present in the divine presence. If not, it is so wide a space, unlike a mill, never turning. Yes, power. That is important, to collect your whole power, your spiritual power. You must think about it. In whose presence am I standing now? Whom am I addressing? Who am I worshipping now? Therefore, we are saying, Allahu Akbar, God is the greatest. Putting aside everything, because nothing is valuable in comparison to what we are doing. There is deep heedlessness now. People think that their works, their business, their efforts, their doing of everything that belongs to this life is important. I am saying, come and give your obedience to your Lord who created you. They are saying, and Mawlana parodies, no time for praying because we have so many things to do. They do not think that the most important work for a man or woman is to stand up and pray for the sake of his Lord's divine glory. To do that work, obedience for his divine glory. Instead, people think that this life and their works are so important, saying, no time. What are you doing? Rubbish. What are you doing? We'll finally go to the WC. But what are you doing this? So Mawlana is saying, the most important thing we can do, when we're actually praying, we're standing before God, we should have a complete concentration on that. And we should give prayer and other acts of worship, we should give them value. Today, we give value to money. If I ask someone to do something that is a very blessed and rewarding thing, a lot of people will ignore it. They're busy, very busy. I'm not doubting they're very busy. We all have to make a living. But If I offer them money to do it, they will do it. And yet our money today doesn't really have any value. The value that money has is the value that we give money. It is a means of transaction. If everybody stopped believing in money tomorrow, money would have no value. And we see on the money markets how dollars increase in value and decrease in value, how pounds increase in value and decrease in value. Every currency does this. Yet we give that more value than Allah. I'm not saying that we don't need it, because we have to make a living, we have to make a way in this society. But why are we giving it more value than the one who created us? The one who can give us everything. The one who can open doors in our lives and make our way easy. Or make sure those doors stay shut so our life remains difficult. Why are we giving more value to something that doesn't even have any inherent value? Are we such big fools? And Mawlana is saying as well, the things of this physical world, ultimately they end up in the toilet. Not literally, but everything passes away. Those of you who are watching me on Zoom and Facebook, and later on YouTube when I upload this video, will see the background. It is a photo that I took in Barmouth, Wales last week. And you can see the water going over the beach. And of course, we've all been through a beach, I should imagine, at some point. And you can build a sandcastle there on that beach, or some of the sand sculpture, and it will stand. It will look great until the tide comes in, and then just a few waves going backwards and forwards. It's just flat sand again, with little ripple effect. Your sandcastle's gone. Everything we build physically in this world is like that sandcastle. Some things will last longer if we make it out of strong materials, or we set up a project in such a way that is very sustainable. Some things will last longer, but ultimately everything we build here is going to pass away, including ourselves. We will return back to our Creator. So if that's the only things we've done with our life, all we've done is stuff that will get washed away by the ocean. So what lasts? What lasts? What lasts is that which Allah is happy with, that which Allah is pleased with. And also the relationships that we've had with people. How we've treated people, if we've treated people with love and kindness, or we've abused people and misused them, and that lasts. That record is taken into the next realm, and we will have to account for it. Mawlana continues, Satan is showing them that what they are doing is so important. I am the president. I am the prime minister. I am a minister. I am a mayor. I am a governor. I am the king. I am the queen. I am the sultan. I am the biggest director, manager of this or that company. Or I am the chairman of this bank or that bank. They are thinking, they think that these titles that they give make their works so important. While for obedience, they are saying, no time to look at such things. We are busy What is this? Such a mentality is bringing the whole world to the worst condition for which they will never find a solution. The whole world's people, all of them, have just fallen into a dark and narrow place, and they are hopeless and full of fear for the future. Yeah, especially at the moment, huh? The US is saying, in 2004, we are making big plans and projects, and planning only for war, not anything else. We are preparing every department, everything only for war in 2004, no other project, because we must pass this narrow strait safely. Then we can think about it. Now we will see that we are in the most dangerous situation and in the most terrible conditions. That is the statement of the US, which is the superpower and patron on earth. Due to that, they are saying this. What about others? All countries now are only thinking about preparing for their defense, how they will be able to protect themselves, small ones and big ones. The small ones are preparing themselves. We may take the side of the US. Others may say, we can take our way with Russia or China or other big countries. We can be under their wing, and we must also be prepared ourselves. No country feels safe about its future. Germany, France, England, Russia, China, Pakistan, India, Japan, Arabs, Turks, none of them feels that it is in safety. None of them looks at its future and says to itself, we have a guarantee through our power. No one. That is the result of the heedlessness of people, because they are throwing away the first important duty that they should keep, to be their Lord's obedient servants. Always they are kicking away that obedience, but yet they are asking for a safe way. They can't find it personally or collectively or globally. Safety is impossible if they throw away obedience to their Lord, Almighty Allah. And you know what's interesting about what Mawlana was saying here, and probably, I mean, he mentions 2004, so this was probably in 2004. And I mean, it's not really changed when you look at the current situation with Ukraine and Russia, and you know the current situation with NATO and China and other countries. And if you look at all traditional revealed religions, whether you look at the Abrahamic ones, like Judaism, Christianity, or Islam, or whether you look at the Dharmic ones, like Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, or you look to even the Chinese ones, right? The philosophy of Confucius. All of these religions are teaching obedience. There's an importance to that. Sorry. You okay, Elizabeth?
I think I'm gonna start to come out and mommy. Mommy thinks I'm
Yeah, no, I'm recording.
I want Daddy, I want my phone. I want my phone.
Please, I'm doing a video. Sorry about that. So all of the revealed religions, they teach the importance of obedience. That doesn't mean that we blindly obey anything that doesn't make sense. But there are certain principles which we find in all religions. And if we obeyed those principles and we lived by them, surely we would be living in a better world. I mean, the very obvious one, which I've discussed before, is the golden rule. Treat others how you would like to be treated yourself. Treat others how you would like to be treated yourself. Or do not treat others how you wouldn't like to be treated yourself. It's phrased both ways in different religions, but it's basically the same teaching. Just looked at one perspective or the other. It means the same thing, but sometimes it's phrased as to treat people how you would like to be treated, or not to treat people how you wouldn't like to be treated. Prophet Muhammad said, Prophet Muhammad said that a Muslim is someone who desires for their brother what they would like for themselves. It's another way of saying it, but it's basically the same thing. To want for others what you want for yourself. To believe in a concept of justice, fairness, to treat people fairly. All religions teach these basic concepts. If we do not have obedience to these basic principles upon which all religions and good philosophies are founded, how can we have a peaceful world? I remember Mawlana Shaykh Nazim once discussing about human rights, and he says it's true. In the Western system, people ask for human rights and demand it. It's true. But at the same time, we also have responsibilities. And those rights are dependent upon us fulfilling our responsibilities. If no one fulfilled their responsibilities, no one would have any rights. And that's true whether you look at citizens within a state or states within the international law system. If we don't treat each other with respect, if we don't work with each other in good faith, it creates mistrust. And when trust breaks down, you end up with conflict. Initially, that may be a conflict of words and legal cases. But eventually, if it's not resolved through that method, then things get worse and worse. The trigger for World War I was an ambassador got killed in Bosnia. I've actually visited the street where it happened. That caused a world war. Obviously, it wasn't really just that one thing, but that was the trigger. Because there were all sorts of other tensions going on. And once that happened, it was just like if you've got a pile of fuel and you strike a match and you put a match to it, it will light up. The sensible thing is if you're building a pile of fuel and there's matches lying around, is not to leave the matches lying around and to try to reduce the fuel. But that's not the strategy that is often followed. Anyway, I'll return back to what Mawlana was saying here. So Mawlana is saying that personally or collectively or globally, safety is impossible if we throw away obedience to our Lord. And that is the biggest crisis for humankind. No one is hopeful and fearless about his future. Even the US is finished because people are throwing away the most important thing, to be obedient to their Lord, to keep obedience to the divine presence of the Lord of heavens. The first punishment is coming for that. They think that through their weapons, they will reach something, but with their weapons, they should only reach destruction, all buildings down and fields full of dead bodies. That is the result, because they are trusting in their weapons, and the whole world is trusting in its technology. Their hope and trust is in their technology. They think that when they use high technology, they should be able to reach their goals on earth, a safe life, and a peaceful, enjoyable life. They do not think that another technology may come and destroy their technology. And the boss of the superpowers, the USA, is saying, in 2004, we are planning and making every project and plan only for war. Therefore, no hope for all the world's people for tomorrow. Then learn a lesson or take a warning. Take your lessons, O people, from what Allah Almighty is sending to us, saying, only I give peace. I am the only one who can give peace to you, to your life. But as long as you are not obedient servants to me, until you make my obedience, my servanthood, the first aim, you are never going to reach peace or a peaceful, enjoyable life in this world. You can't reach that. And there's a very good reason for that as well. Because this is also, I've discussed sometimes in my Sohbet about being in tune. The more in tune you are with the reality, the more you lower your own ego. Because you realize that we are all just creatures in a vast universe, on a small little planet. The wonders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala go on endlessly. And even this picture of the ocean I've got behind me, we don't even know what's at the bottom of the ocean in some parts of the world. We've visited some parts of it with our modern technology, but there are still parts of the oceans we've never visited. We don't know, even in our earth, everything that is here. And our earth, if you take a photo of it from the rings of satin, looks no bigger than a full stop on the page of this book. And we're all on that little dot. The more in tune you are with reality, you can't be so egoistic. And if you trust in Allah, that gives you a sense of peace. But if you don't, and you think that you are something, and you think you're powerful, you think you're rich, or some other thing, this is all a deception. Yes, people have different roles within this life, and that has its own importance, but at the same time, it's a limited importance. Just like if you have a title within an organization that you work, that title has an importance within that organization. But when you come outside on the street, it might not have any importance to anybody else, depending on what your title is in your organization, of course. But it doesn't necessarily mean anything. You know, you could be the CEO of a big company even, but outside the offices of that company, it might not mean anything. If you're in an airplane and it crashed in the rainforests of Brazil and you survived, and you couldn't find anybody, it's, you know, until you got back to civilization, that title wouldn't mean anything. Because ultimately, we're all human beings. We're just playing various parts. William Shakespeare said this, among others. We're all playing various parts on the stage of life. And yes, that has its certain importance within life, but we shouldn't elevate it beyond that and think it's something more than that. And we shouldn't lose perspective on the fact that we are spirits journeying through this life, through these bodies, until we check out at some point. And then we're no longer in this world, we're in another world. We have to be aware of that and not lose sight of it. Mawlana says, therefore this world must be changed. We are the smallest state on earth, and the northern Turkish government is coming and asking me, do you think we are in need of a change? I am saying yes. You need a change because your condition now is the worst. If you insist on not changing, you are never going to reach a good and hopeful and peaceful life because you are on the wrong way. You are kicking away obedience to your Lord, and he is punishing you so that you can't reach a peaceful life. You must change yourselves. I am saying to them. And now I am saying to the whole world that they must change their way if they want a peaceful life, a peaceful world, global peace. If you like that, you must change. You must change your position. Now you are servants of Satan or Shaitan. You must change. You must be servants of your Lord. And everything is going to be changed. If not, no technology can help. Technology has only come for destruction and to take away everything on the face of this earth, and to remain only ashes and dead bodies, broken buildings, destroyed cities. That will be the result. And certainly if you look at military technologies, I mean, it might not reflect all technology, but if you look at military technology, which is what so much money is invested in by various countries around the world, it's all created for destruction. Now, you know, I'm a supporter of the British Armed Forces and I'm not a pacifist. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge that that is the purpose of military technology. It is to cause destruction. And if we want a world where there is less destruction, we surely have to invest in something else. Because that cannot be the solution. It can be a stopgap measure until we come to a better place in collective understanding and the systems we put in place. But it can't be a permanent solution. And Mawlana says this is a warning from spiritual headquarters to all nations. If they listen and change, they should reach a safe and peaceful life. If not, they know they can do as they like, but they are never going to be welcome with a good life, a peaceful life. Always they should be faced with troubles, crises, wars, fighting, destruction, sufferings, miseries here before the day of resurrection. May Allah forgive us and send us may Allah forgive us and send us some ones from his saints, from his valued servants, honored servants, to turn our faces from the wrong direction to the right direction, to leave shaitan and to be with Allah, for the honor of the most honored one in his divine presence, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم. Hope you found that food for thought. And when I discovered this the other day as I was traveling on the train to Wales and heard about the situation in Ukraine, it really got me thinking. I mean, Mawlana said those words a number of years before the current crisis. Clearly, he could see that the way we were running the world, it would lead to crisis. May Allah guide us and allow us to learn from the mistakes of the past and not to repeat them. Amin. Thank you for joining me on this Friday evening in the UK. Wherever you are in the world, I wish you a very good day or good evening. And assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.